Hey guys, so just a little video to go with your home learning for this week. So obviously you guys as Year 7s, you're going to be working on a desk tidy project. So one of the things that you'd have done first of all, which is on your worksheet, is to work out what it is you actually need to tidy. So what are the kind of things that when you're doing your home learning, when you're working wherever that might be, on a desk, on your kitchen table, what are the things that are getting in the way? Now here's the things that, for me, these are the problems. So first of all is notebooks. So I have quite a few A5 notebooks. This is my to-do list book. I also have ones that I just write general sort of notes about things I'm working on. And I have loads of them and they get all over the place on my table. I'm always trying to clear them up, get them out of my way. So that's one of the things I need to tidy. The other things that I have, obviously I have, lots of different pens, lots of different pencils. As a teacher, I'm always writing notes, pencil sharpener, and I have quite a lot of board pens, as you can imagine, because I use loads of them. And they get all over my desk. So these are the things that I need to kind of tidy up. So that's what I'm going to build my desk tidy for. So I've had a look and I've thought about the things that are getting in the way, the things that are a bit of a problem. I've also done a little bit of research, so I went online like you guys are going to do, and I had a look at some of the desk tidies that are out there and where I might get a bit of inspiration. So this is the design that I've come up with. So with my notepad I've kind of gone through and looked at the way I'm going to do it. So my design is going to have a slot in the front there so that I can put my notebooks in, and it's going to have 3 tubes at the top for me to slot in those pens and those pencils. So my board pens, so I've got a slightly bigger one for things like board pens, and there's also a little bit of free space around the edge just to put things like my pencil sharpener, which are going to stand up. So I've obviously had some thoughts, and this is the idea that I've come up with. What I've then done is, just so I can make it a little bit easier, I've gone through and I've made a slightly more detailed drawing with some measurements on it. Now these are really rough. I'm not expecting you to go to this level. This is just how I think, and I like to have measurements so that it makes a bit more sense to me. So I've come up with some measurements so that I can actually build my working prototype, which obviously you guys are going to be doing as part of the task. As designers, it's really important to have a physical version of what you've created, because we can't necessarily see from a page whether the design's actually going to work or not. What we can do is we can make a quick one and we can find out from that. Now, I've had quite a few questions over sort of all your home learning about materials. Obviously, I know you guys are at home, you don't necessarily have all that much there, but there are a few things that you do have that you can use. So I'm going to make my prototype now for you to see how I do it and what I use. So for this prototype, I'm going to use standard pair of kitchen scissors, obviously for cutting all my cardboard, cutting my tape. I'm going to use some sellotape, and I have already done a bit of prep, so this is a bit quicker, and to do that I just use the tape measure, but obviously you can use a ruler, you can use whatever you might have at home just to measure with. So materials wise, I'm sure you guys have more materials at home than you might realise. So something that I have loads in my flat, because I've been stuck with nothing to do, is Amazon boxes. These are a great source of cardboard, and what's better is that they're in panels, so I can cut all the little individual bits out. I can cut out all the bits and take it apart, and I've got loads of really useful reusable cardboard. I've also used some cereal packet, so this is some cereal packet that I finished yesterday. I've cut that up to make the tubes. And there's lots of little bits of packaging you might not realise. So for example, this little sleeve here has come off a packet of sausages, which I finished yesterday. So these are all really good sources of cardboard and building materials. I'm sure you've also got things like milk cartons, plastic bottles from whatever things you might have at home. So whenever making a prototype, it's always a really good option to go to the recycling bin or go into the kitchen, see what materials you've actually got there that you can use for different projects. Okay, so let's get started on my prototype itself. So for this, I have cut top and bottom, 2 sides, and obviously the back. Now you can use to attach this together. I'm just going to use sellotape because it's easy, I've got it. You can use PVA if you have a little bit of PVA. You can get that from most supermarkets. If you go where the pens and the pencils, colouring pencils are, there will usually be little craft bottles of PVA, which are really, really good to use as well. But I'm just going to use sellotape. I'm going to keep it really simple, keep it really basic. So, little tip and trick. One of the things that I've done already to make things a little bit easier for myself is I've already cut up some tape. So you can see that there. I've cut some tape into little strips. Just makes it a little bit easier for me to kind of have it to hand. I don't have to fiddle around. Okay, so let's have a look at my model then. What do I need to do? So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to start just with my bottom. Really, really simple. And I'm going to start by attaching the sides. I'm going to start by doing these two, and I'm going to attach the back. So what I'm going to do is get some of my sellotape. I'm going to start with the sides. So I'm going to lay them up against where they need to be. And just on the inside edge, what I'm going to do is get a piece of tape. So I'm going to start it there on one piece, lay it against the end, and I'm going to stick it down. I'm going to press as hard as I can. And I'm also going to do that a couple more times. You'll notice that at the start, it is a little bit wobbly. That's not a problem. The other thing to remember is that this isn't necessarily a perfectly working model. It's a prototype, and all it's supposed to do is get us started and kind of help us to see what our prototype's going to look like. And if we can test it a little bit, that's obviously always going to be a bonus. So there's one side. Don't worry, this is all going to get much, much tighter at the end. So let's do my other side. Let's get that one on too. I know sticky tape can be a little bit fiddly at times, but there we go. So there's my next side. Going to lay that down. And I'm also going to do the back as well. So let's get a little bit of tape. I'm going to put way more tape on this when it gets to a stage where it's kind of a little bit more finished. But this is just me getting a bit ready. See, haven't done enough tape. So that's why it's always a good opportunity or good technique to get plenty of tape cut and put on the edges of your table before you get started. So there we go. Right, so let's have a look. So next, my back. Now obviously I need to attach the back two different ways. So I need to attach it kind of along the base and then here up along the sides. So I'm going to start with the base. So let's line it up. There's my tape. Let's turn it around so you guys can see a little bit easier. And fold that side. And a little bit on this side as well. So there we go. Fold up nice and tight. And now I can start attaching my sides. You see, once I've done that, it will start to get a lot more solid and I'll be able to kind of keep the structure together. So let's get a little bit more tape. Apologies if the camera's wobbling a little bit. I've got a very flimsy kitchen table. There we go. So that's one side. Let's attach that there. And literally just these little strips are enough. You know, like I said, we're not making a full-on working, you know, final piece. It's just a bit of a test. That's what a prototype should be. It should be enough for you to actually see if the idea works or not. And then, you know, if we were going to do a project at school maybe on this, what we might do is we might put this little model together. We'll see how it works. And if it does work or it doesn't work or it needs to change in any way, we would then go and make those changes, you know, maybe with another design, with another sketch. Or we might, you know, just kind of go with the main model and learn from our mistakes. But that's what it's all about, okay? So there is my finished kind of start of my organizer. So obviously if we look back at the design, you know, it's good to keep the design next to you so you can check it. I have just created, so the bottom, the sides, and the back. And obviously I need to do this top section. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait on the top section for just a minute because I have these tubes to add on. So I'm going to wait and I'm going to assemble it once I've done that. So I can put this to one side for just a moment. Make sure, there we go. And next thing is I'm going to get my top. So there's my top and I have my 3 tubes. Now obviously, like I said, bit of cereal box, just cut it into a strip. And what I did was I just kind of used my fingers to bend it roughly into a circular shape. So obviously what I need to do, the first thing is I need to secure these in the right place. So I'm going to cut a couple of strips of sellotape just to hold my tubes together. Again, prototype, not essential that they're absolutely perfect. What they need to be is just enough to prove my idea works. So there's my first one, bit more tape. If you've got a tape dispenser at home, then you are going to have a great time with this. I'm still having to find the end of my sellotape every time I want to do anything, which can be a little bit of a pain, but not to worry. I said I would do this video with kind of the minimal stuff so you guys can see, you know, what is possible with actually not very much. And I hope that's one of the things that you're kind of gaining from our home learning task so far, is actually to design and create things, you really don't need a lot. You know, a little bit of basic cardboard, some glue, and you know, that's all you really need to create some quite cool stuff. If you want to have a look a little bit more of the stuff that you can make at home outside of these tasks, make sure to check your weekly bulletin, the weekly newsletter that I've been sending out. That's got a couple of really cool challenges that you can do, some engineering, some making stuff, with pretty much just what we've done today, which is just cardboard. Okay, so there are my 3 tubes. Okay, so that's where my pens and my pencils are going to slot into. So I'm going to put those onto my lid. I'm going to arrange them in the places that I want them. So I'm going to space them out kind of, that's about right. That's where I'd have it. You could maybe put them at the edges, but I want them in the middle. I just think that looks cool. Now again, this is another time to remember that this is just a prototype. You know, it doesn't have to look perfect. All it's allowing me to do is check that my idea works. So I'm actually not going to hold these on all that securely. I'm just going to put a little bit of tape just to hold them in vaguely the right place. So again, a bit of tape on the edge, leaving some of it sticking over the side like that, so I can put it down, stick it there, and at least I know it's not going to move. So I'm going to do the same on the other side. Let's get that there. So that now is enough. It's not going to slip away. I can kind of see whether it's going to hold my pencils, my pens in place. On the other side, I'm just doing this really roughly. You know, it's not a masterpiece. There we go, that's held in place, that's not going to move. And now the other side of my big tube. Let's get that there. And that side. And there we go. A really quick, really rough top. Now I can start attaching it to my main piece of work. So again, I'm going to need some sellotape to kind of attach this. Turns out it's a little bit small in certain places because again, you know, it's just a quick prototype. Might need to do a little bit of trimming, so this back piece is a little bit too large, so let's just use my scissors to trim that down. You know, it's not, like I said, it's not precise, it's a quick model. We just want to make sure that it works and it holds together enough to be able to test the idea. So let's get some more tape. I'm going to use a slightly longer piece this time, kind of hold it all together. This is the time where we're going to start putting a lot more tape on to try and make it a bit more secure. Now we're kind of at the end, so I've put a strip of tape all the way along that edge now. So let's stick that down here to the main body of the prototype. Tuck any little bits in. I'm going to do the same on the other side. So long, nice bit of tape. Obviously with cardboard, you know, it can be a bit of a sort of flimsy material, so I want to be nice and careful when I'm working with it. It can kind of break quite easily sometimes. So there we go, bit of tape along there. Touch that in. And now's the time where you can sort of, you know, trim things up. I've got a bit of an edge that's sticking over again there. So let's trim that up. I'm going to add some more tape on all the edges to make it really secure, really tight, so that it is enough for me to actually test this prototype. That's what I want at the end of the day, is something I can actually check and see if it works. Okay, so here is my prototype. It's now finished. So I've got my 3 tubes for my different pens and pencils. I've got my slot for my A5 notebooks. So now let's have a little check. Let's see if it actually does the job that I want it to. Okay, so first check, A5 notebook. Perfect, slots in there nicely. My board pens, and my other pens and pencils. So I can separate them up into pens, pencils, whatever it is. And I've got some space for a couple of other things that I want to keep out of the way. So there, guys, is my desk tidy. You've seen how I can make it. You've seen how some of the ways I can use cardboard to actually make something with. And I hope you guys do a fantastic job. And I'd love to see your work. So please remember, guys, that we have the DT Instagram. We're always looking for really cool work. You know, I'd like to see your versions of your desk tidies. You know, show me that they work. Show me that you've come up with a really good design that you know is going to actually work. And what I'd really love is to see you guys using them with your home learning. You know, send me some photos of you working with your desk tidy and show me that it's really working. Okay, Great work, guys. Thanks very much, and I'll see you soon.